So with that, we go to our next agenda item, which is a presentation and comments regarding House Bill 224, Act 230, with respect to expanding equitable business opportunity programs and procurement set-asides. I believe we have Mr. Stallbert who's going to present, our dear friend, Representative Delisha Boyd. I believe our Congressman is here now, Congressman Troy Carter, and Mr. Kennedy. And Mr. Kennedy's making his way to the table. And Ms. Majors at the table as well. So just so everyone understands what this item is about, this year during this legislative session, the Collaborative, a group who we're very familiar with, helped shepherd a major victory for minority businesses in the city of New Orleans. Go ahead, y'all, take your seats. Good to see you, Congressman. Take your seat. I know you're familiar with this chamber.
I've seen it once or twice.
Seen it once or twice before. So the legislation that we see these esteemed members before us who are here today to talk about is House Bill 224 by Representative Boyd. It provides at least a 10% set aside to economically disadvantaged businesses in New Orleans. This has been a key part of the Collaborative's agenda, but to get something like this done, it takes finding the right champion to really get this through the difficult process of the legislature. And for those of us who were up in the legislature this session, you can tell that it was complex, to say the least. So they found that champion in Representative Boyd. And of course, I've also been very proud to work hand in hand with the Collaborative over many years on a variety of many issues. And now I, along with the rest of the City Council, look forward to the implementation piece of this very important legislation. I also want to say thank you so much for the work of another great legislator, someone who served on this particular body, the New Orleans City Council, and also was my colleague in the state legislature, and that's our Congressman Troy Carter, who every step of the way, from when he was on the local level to the state level to now the federal level, has been such a champion to help small and minority businesses succeed. And so thank you, my friend, for all of your help in that effort. With that, my friends, I turn it over to you all, with whoever would like to start the presentation.
We're doing the video first, correct? We're doing the video first?
Run the video first.
Oh, you want to run the video first? Let's run a video first.
He's got it.
In 2012, a call went out, much like a clarion call to small and DBE business owners about the billions of dollars coming to New Orleans. The one who made the call is Barbara Major, and those of us who answered the call are known as the Collaborative.
My name is Barbara Major. I am a founding member of the Collaborative. I would like to thank Governor John Bell Edwards and Representative Delisha Boyd for having the courage, the competence, and the fortitude to create a place and space through law where the opportunities for those businesses that have been historically neglected in New Orleans will have a real opportunity, a fairer chance to create wealth in our community.
The mantra for the Collaborative has always been the pursuit of equitable policies for certified DBE firms, and we have once again achieved that goal.
For DBE firms like mine, Balthasar Electrics, to compete directly with other DBE firms, rather than the big companies that we sometimes have to compete against and don't win.
It's companies like mine, a company of 50 people, who constantly competes against companies that are Fortune 500, Fortune 100.
It's been a long time coming, but we have not completed this race yet. We still have a long way to go, because the determining factor will be the leadership of this city and the community making a decision to create a fairer opportunity to be on the playing field.
That means being able to show you what we can do. It means being able to compete against other companies that are like-sized, and then maybe one day those two companies that have become primes can prime on the even bigger jobs than that.
Well, when you walk down the street or when you drive throughout the city of New Orleans, you can look up now when you see LED lights, when you see traffic signals, when you see EV chargers, you can think, a black female woman company sold those to the city of New Orleans.
And what's more important is making sure that the leadership understands that the intentionality in the program, the execution of the program, and the monitoring of the program has got to be just as intentional as those leaders that help bring it here.
The collaborative has worked for years to create equity. We've gotten to this part of the journey. The leadership of this city will determine, along with the citizens of this city, whether or not those businesses that have served us, those businesses that have been pushed aside, marginalized historically, will have a real opportunity to create wealth in our community.
House Bill 224 by Representative Delisha Boyd provides relative to contracts awarded to socially and economically disadvantaged businesses in the city of New Orleans.
Appreciate y'all's work and welcome. Good to have all of you here today. Well, I think we're ready.
Yes, sir.
So this is House Bill 224, which became Act 230.
The City of New Orleans completed the 2018 Economic Disparity Study, which evaluated the spending, contracting patterns, and procurement practice of the city. It was reported that only 2% of private non-city construction contracts were awarded to minority-owned firms. Therefore, House Bill 224 was initiated by the Collaborative, authored by Representative Delisha Boyd, unanimously passed by the legislature, and today signed into law by Governor Edwards. House Bill 224, now Act 230, authorized a socially and economically disadvantaged business set-aside program in the city of New Orleans. The intent is to establish a narrowly tailored program that would create a fertile pool of work where small and emerging certified DBE firms can compete against firms of like sizes.
We've been working on this set-aside bill for more than 12 years. It is critically important to minority businesses in the city of New Orleans.
This would impact companies like Mine Services to benefit from this 25%. It affords me an opportunity to bid with other minorities who provide similar services or professional services without being in this big, massive pool where it's so difficult to compete. So it is the ceremonial signing by John Bell Edwards, as well as Representative Delisha Boyd, is monumental.
Previously, I had to compete with larger development companies. As larger development companies have more financial resources, they have more capacity in back office. I think that this opportunity here will allow me to compete more effectively against companies that's my size.
For the first time, we will have an opportunity to have a pool of work set aside specifically for minority and small businesses. This helps them to become prime contractors. This helps them to be able to get contracts without competing with large firms. And we think it is clearly a move forward, and we look forward to putting this bill and this program into action.
Something that the collaborative group for 12 years has been pushing, not just the fact that we have worked so hard as the collaborative group, but we are representing generations that's coming up behind us to know that this is finally happening. History that is going to help so many minority business owners.
Our sincere thanks to State Representative Delisha Boyd, who authored House Bill 224, now Act 230, Governor John Bell Edwards for signing it into law, our state legislators, our mayor, and members of our city council. It is now vital that as we go forward from this historic moment, our diligent commitment to continued collaboration begin. And together, we frame an unprecedented implementation process that is sustainable for generations to come. As our Congressman Troy A. Carter Sr. stated, this bill empowers local leaders in New Orleans to uplift their community by providing opportunities to businesses that traditionally faced hardships. By setting aside contracts for socially and economically disadvantaged businesses, we are fostering inclusivity and driving economic growth that benefits everyone.
All right, the floor is yours.
All right. Madam President and honorable members of the City Council, always an honor to be before you. Let me give you great applause for the incredible work that you're doing under incredibly challenging circumstances. Leadership is difficult. You've stepped up, you stand out, and we appreciate you giving us this time to highlight this incredible piece of legislation by an incredible legislator, my dear friend, Representative Delisha Boyd. But before I do that, if I could, I walked in just on the tail end of the last discussion, and I want to applaud the City Council and applaud the members of the audience who stepped up today in support of our young people who have worked and deserve to be paid. They deserve to be paid. Young people are, when they're out of school, they've got extra time, they go and they do productive things. We talk about a community of supporting our young people and wanting to do right by them and giving them wholesome things to do. And we also teach them that an honest day's work begets an honest day's pay. In this case, they've done their part. And I know you guys will do an audit and fight to do your job to make sure that they get paid. And I appreciate that. I just want to lend my voice to your efforts to make sure that we send the right message to our young people, that we respect them, that we appreciate them, and we're going to pay them according to the work they perform. So thank you. Today we gather to highlight HB 224, now Act 230, a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous lift for those of us. I see JP left, but as a member of the Senate and Madam President is a member of the House, and you as legislators here on the City Council, you know the challenges it takes to pass any legislation, but particularly in this climate, a climate where we have such hate speak, a climate where there's an attempt to roll back gains that we've made for small businesses, disadvantaged enterprises. To have a bill navigate its way through the House and Senate and ultimately to the President's desk is no short of a miracle. And it demonstrates the incredible work of this tireless legislator, Delisha Boyd, to be able to build the coalition to bring us to this point. And of course, I can't say another sentence without giving great pride and accolades to the collaborative that has been there fighting, oftentimes alone, without resources, without anything other than the grit and commitment to make a difference. And so we're very proud of the great work that the collaborative has done, continues to do, and will continue to do as a part of our community. Today we look at an opportunity for us to really put teeth into creating opportunities for small businesses that have historically been shortchanged, if you will, in the way of whether it's financing, bonding, or opportunities. Opportunities often leave small businesses short. Even if they got the opportunity to participate, oftentimes pay was withheld until a time is which that the majority firms might offer pennies on the dollar for the work that's been done. I implore you to, in all contracts, to make sure they're fair, to make sure that DBEs and organizations are treated fairly, and that not only do they get an opportunity to participate, that's one part of it, but making sure that they get an opportunity to be paid timely. Because time is money, and when you hold small businesses' money for 120 days, that goes into 180 days, and then sometimes that dollar becomes 50 cents because the cost of doing business, at some point you just have to settle in order to keep your employees paid and keep the lights on. So Act 230 will go a long way to give you additional tools in your tool shed to provide resources for small and disadvantaged businesses that so desperately deserve it. And we will continue as a member of the Small Business Committee and the Congress. We have fought to create opportunities for small businesses. This is a great adjunct. This is a great partner and a great opportunity to build on the work that the collaborative and so many other organizations have been fighting for, to provide real tangible resources for small and emerging businesses to be able to compete in a major marketplace with resources and leveled field that give them an opportunity to be successful. So I'm happy to sit here with my dear colleague and congratulate her on the incredible work of passing HB 224, to likewise thank the collaborative for their incredible technical assistance, work on the ground, shoe leather, to working the legislature, to being in local bodies, to being in Washington, to being in city councils, and to being in the legislature, to tell the story and to tell it effectively, that no one's asking for a handout, just a hand up, asking for an opportunity for fairness, not for a favor, asking for an opportunity to be able to compete in a leveled playing field that gives everyone an opportunity to survive and thrive. So thank you, Madam President, for allowing this time on your agenda. Members of the City Council, thank you for your willingness to listen and participate, and thank you for the great work that you're doing in the area of minority business enterprises and making it a reality and not just a wish. So God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Good morning to the members of the City Council. Good morning, Madam President. This bill was my feel-good bill of the session. The collaborative came to me earlier this year, maybe January, to talk about their desire to have a bill that created set-asides for DBEs. And throughout this time, nothing is done by one legislator. It's throughout with the supporters and advocates that I've had help me champion this bill through to the City Council. You guys demonstrated what I call good government. Each one of you signed a bill in support of this, signed a letter in support of this bill, which went a long way when I was in committee, to be able to have your voices stand with me for this effort. We all know that small businesses are the fabric of our environment, the fabric of our society. This needed to happen. I'm glad it happened when it did. I know we've said that they've been trying for about 12 years to get it through. Everything happens in God's time. So I think this is a perfect time for us to award the people who are the soul of our communities, small businesses, being able to compete amongst themselves, not to have them compete with bigger businesses or prime businesses. They get to compete for up to 25% of contracts among themselves. This is a huge effort. I want to thank the collaborative, Ms. Barbara, Ms. Geneva, who was supposed to be sitting here with me, and the rest of the collaborative members for believing in me, for trusting in me to carry their baby, as I call it, and bring it full circle. Also, once again, just thank you for your help in getting this done, and this will be a huge impact on our society moving forward, and I'm here for anything that I can do to assist in the future with this bill. Thank you.
I want to say good morning and thank the council and the leadership that you've given in the support of the collaborative. My friend Kim may be gone, but I wanted Kim to hear that we're not a 501c3. And with that, I'll tell a brief story told to me by one of my mentors and one of the first lieutenants of Dr. Martin Luther King, and that was Reverend C.T. Vivian. He said to me, he said, you know, they sick dogs on us and we kept coming. He said they shot water hoses on us that tore the skin off our arms and we kept coming. He said they gave us a 501c3 and a grant and we stopped coming. See, we got to understand what that means. That's not to knock off 501c3s, but equity and liberation for black folk ain't going to come through no 501c3. They are service providers, and the reason why the collaborative chose, because we need to say things sometimes that people may think are political, but it's really about what's equitable and fair. This legislation helps support the struggle for fairness. And it's a very difficult thing. Equity seems to be a dirty word, but it's something that we have to work toward. This gives us a piece, more than a drop in the ocean, I believe, but it really gives us many, many drops in terms of getting to where we are. But I want to be real clear, it doesn't matter if we don't have the leadership that moves forward on the thinking and the processing of legislation if they don't do it in the spirit that the legislation was created. It just becomes words on paper, like to some folk, the Constitution of the United States. So you as leaders, and we look at you, you have pushed forward, and I'm so proud of that. And not about us always agreeing, but you have been serving, some of you, let me be clear, some of you have been serving leaderships because you made decisions that may not have always been popular, but it was the right thing to do. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to you, my personal councilman, Mr. King, Councilman King, thank you. And we'll talk about that later. But thank you for that, and thank you for the support. And we will continue to work with you to make sure that there are not just processes put in place, but processes that are monitored to ensure that the spirit of this legislation is carried through to impact small businesses. Small businesses, people will often say, are the backbone of a community, the backbone of a society. In reality, this city has been breaking the backs of small and minority-owned businesses. It's time for us to change the way we do what we do. It's time for us to change the way that we see the world without possibility of equity. So those of us who believe in the possibility of this city will continue to do what we do, and we'll continue to reach out to those of you who believe, like us, that equity can be achieved in New Orleans.
Thank you, Councilman, for giving us this time today. The summary of the act has been read in the video, so I'm not going to repeat it, but I do have a few comments. The collaborative tries very diligently not to bring you a problem without a solution. Act 230 is a solution, but I want to be clear, it's not a panacea. It's not going to change the status of DBEs and minorities and African-American businesses overnight. We need a sustained effort by you this council season, next council season, and beyond to make this happen. One of the issues we have to deal with, and you talked briefly about it this morning, we've now got to go out and convince DBEs that this is real. We've got to convince these minority contractors that they're going to get paid. So we have an opportunity here to give them an environment where they can grow their businesses, but we've got to convince them that this opportunity is real. They remember the history of the city of New Orleans and its payment system. As a small business, I would ask myself, well, if they didn't pay the kids this summer, why would I put $2 million on the line? You know, we've got to now do the hard work, and we need your help to make this not only real, but fix the parts of the system that we've been dealing with. So I appreciate everything you've done. This bill has been a long time coming. It is a step stool, but we have to have a sustained effort. I thank you for your time.
I'm kind of shy, so y'all got to forgive me. Good morning, City Council, and thank you, Vice President Moreno, for putting us on the agenda for today. But also, I know we keep thanking Representative Boyd, but we have to really keep thanking Representative Boyd because she is the real, true example of representative government. As she said, when we approached her, she didn't hesitate. She didn't hesitate. Let me say that again. She didn't hesitate to be able to take this bill and to usher it through the legislative process. So we got to really commend legislators like her who hear from the community a solution, and then she get active and getting it done. So we have to commend you and give you your flowers while you're here. And as you heard today, the importance of this legislation and how it's going to impact small businesses to be able to grow and to be able to thrive, like the Congressman said, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. But one thing I want to emphasize that we know that the data center reported many years ago, and that it has been consistent over the last 30 years. We know government is not the end-all, be-all. It's not the silver bullet for growing minority and women and small businesses. Most small businesses, we only been getting over the last 30 years about 2% of the gross revenue in the private sector. Once again, let me repeat that number, 2% of the gross revenue in the private sector. So that basically means that we ain't been getting nothing in the private sector. That equates to about roughly $50,000 on an average for businesses. And I had a slide that I wanted to, when I talked about income and poverty, and I'm just going to kind of make you all aware, if you all are not aware, the poverty level, according to the census data, the national poverty level is 11.6%. That's the national poverty level. The poverty level in the city of New Orleans is 24.8%. 24.8%. So we are basically double the national average in poverty in the city of New Orleans. And also, as you can see, some of the income levels, and when you look at incomes and earning, when they got $46,942, give or take, roughly off by $2,638, that's the medium. When we know that majority of African American families basically make about $30,000 in the city of New Orleans. A white family is about $85,000 in the city of New Orleans. A Hispanic family, $65,000 in New Orleans. You might say, Steve, well, what's the relevancy of that? Most businesses are financed by two things, debt or equity. Debt or equity. That's what most businesses are financed by. And if we have huge amount of income disparities in our city, then we have businesses who are really struggling to be businesses. Most of small businesses that are owned by people of color only have one employee, themselves, one employee. And so the importance of this legislation about giving small minority and women-owned businesses opportunities where they don't have to be one own employee of their own business. They can go out and hire other folks. I know we always like to recruit other companies to come here in New Orleans, and we always trying to recruit and retain some of our businesses, but we got to focus on the small businesses are here. New Orleans is a small business town. We're not going to compete with Atlanta and their number 14 Fortune 500. We're not going to compete with Houston, Dallas, Austin, none of those cities. So we got to be able to ensure that we give the economic opportunity for small businesses to grow. And those small businesses need access to capital. They need access to bonding opportunities. And one of the things that I had in my slide is previously under President Obama, they had the State Small Business Credit Initiative. And I want to commend Congressman Carter and his colleagues in Congress because they reinstituted the State Small Business Credit Initiative under the Build Back Better, or maybe it was the Infrastructure Reduction Act. I don't know, Congressman, you can tell me better. But I think that those resources, the state of Louisiana received $130 million. $130 million. That's 9 times more what they originally received under President Obama. And so why I mention that, because small businesses need access to resource. And so a lot of those resources, they're talking about investing into venture capital, guarantees, but sometimes banks have some of the same underwriting criteria, even with these guarantees that's coming from the federal government. So I hope that you all can also look into those type of matters as well. And the previous council, I sent them a great piece of legislation from Los Angeles County. It's called the Responsible Banking Ordinance. And what that does is that it allows municipalities to look at financial institutions and look at what are they doing to meet the Community Reinvestment Act requirements. It's automatically required by the federal government, but once again, the city, we have a budget of $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion, and that money is sitting in financial institutions. And so I'm hoping that this council can also, we talk about transparency all the time, but maybe that's another piece of legislation that you all can probably implement, and looking at ways of how financial institutions are really making investments back into the community. Not to be antagonistic towards financial institutions who are holding our tax dollars, but to say, how are you really reinvesting back in our community and investing in making loans to small businesses and doing other things that can benefit our community. So thank y'all once again for y'all time.
Hey, thank you all. Mr. President, you were not here a moment ago, but I want to share in our appreciation of the work that the entire City Council has done and continues to do. We know with the attack on diversity, inclusion, and equity and inclusion programs, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because we see what's happening in our country. We see the attempt to roll back gains. We see the attack in government, in academic institutions. We see the attack in private companies to go after diversity, equity, and inclusion as if it's a bad word, as if something is wrong with it, as if leveling the playing field is not the right thing to do. Well, today, I applaud you, City Council, and although it appears that we're preaching to the choir, because you're already the converted, but even the choir needs rehearsal.
Exactly. Even the
So-
choir
so-
needs a sermon.
That's
Right.
it. So as we close, I wanna again thank everyone, particularly the collaborative, for being such a wind beneath our wings, if you will, boots on the ground, always working. And of course, to get things done, you need good, effective leadership. And Representative Boyd hit the ground running as a new member of the legislature now in her second term. The people rewarded her with re-election, which is the right thing to do. And again, thank all of you for your continued efforts on behalf of the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana.
Thank you, Congressman.
If I could add one more thing, he pretty much said almost exactly what I was thinking to say, because I don't want us to lose the greatness of this moment right now and the collaborative effort of everyone, the people at this table, City Council. I had what some might call a challenging session because I chose to pick 5 bills with teeth. And without the help of our congressman, who I talk to literally almost every day of session, 15 times a day, just to keep me grounded and level to move forward, the calls and texts that I got from our president and vice president throughout some of the difficult bills are worth mentioning and worth celebrating. I probably would have quit had it not been for my brother here, who just uplifted me throughout the whole process. So I want us to leave here knowing that this was a great day. This is a great bill, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of the people who stood with me throughout it.
Thank you.
I would be remiss if I did not call at least a couple of names, and I know I missed some, of those whose shoulders we stand on. This battle's been going on before many of you came here, and particularly Diana Bourgeois and Cynthia Morrell.
Right.
Them sisters carried us when nobody else seemed to be in the house. And the collective I, when I think of the community, are very proud to have both, when I think of you, Delisha and Troy, I know that may not be professional, congressperson and state representative, you all have had our back. And I would also be remiss if I did not, Councilwoman Moreno, your staff, see Andrew and Sadie? We got to lift them up. We have to. We have to. They were amazing. And for all of you that stand firm, thank you. And actually, the work has just started, because now we've got to develop the process to make sure that this happens. And we lean a great deal on you, and we know that. But hey, God made y'all strong. Y'all say y'all want to be in these positions. Y'all got to do what y'all got to do. I'm praying for you. But we are just so grateful that you are here, because sometimes we would feel like we're flapping in the wings if we couldn't come to you and say, this is what we need to do. So on that, thank you. And the collaborative, I can't call every name, but grateful, grateful, grateful for so many people who have been with us over the years to get this accomplished.
I forgot I had a couple of things I wanted to say. I got involved really in this work because of this young lady here many years ago. She took me on as her adopted son, so I love her dearly for her believing in me as a young man. But I also wanted to inform the council that we did have the opportunity to meet with Mayor Cantrell and members of her team, and she is supportive of these efforts. And so we got the name The Collaborative because we really work collaboratively with everyone. And so because we know that you all on the legislative side write the laws, and the administrative side is the one who kind of carry out the laws. And so we did, speak with Mayor Cantrell, and she said she is supportive of these efforts. So I just didn't want to let that go unnoticed, that she does say she supports these efforts as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. So thank you to everyone on the panel, of course, to the collaborative. You all have been tremendous to work with all along the way, because honestly, you made it pretty easy for me and for my staff, because you come up with the ideas and then we just kind of help you with the implementation piece. And so, Ms. Major, to your point, yes, Andrew and Sadie are amazing. I'm so blessed to have them as part of my team, and they've been with me from the very start, and they are absolutely amazing. And so they're going to help me with the next piece, because the next piece of this is the implementation of this program. And the council's responsibility is to now put in place the rules for this particular program. And so Sadie's already, at work, and I know that Ms. Geneva and Ms. Gould, and they know that already. And so you know that you can lean on my staff to get information to them, and that we'll get this done, and we'll get it done right. I know we have some comments from the dais. Oh, thank you. Yes, to Andrew and Sadie, yes. Councilmember Green.
There is obviously so much good that I can say about the collaborative of your work, and I've seen it over the years. And thank you for bringing to the council and to the state now issues that are so important, that are resulting in such as a day that we have today, a historic day. But I do want to say, Representative Delisha Boyd, thank you for taking on this tremendous initiative, and thank you for your success in the legislature. And yes, this means dollars going into the pockets of disadvantaged business enterprises, and that makes a big difference. So thank you very much for your work. Congressman Carter, your work speaks for itself. It was good to see you on yesterday. $207 million coming to the state of Louisiana. So much that we have to do, but yes, $207 million, which is going to make it easier for citizens to have their homes raised, for example, and to make opportunities available to government to make us more able to withstand the onslaught of storms and what they cause. Thank you very much for the work that you do. And thank you for your work with small businesses in the committee that you serve. It makes a difference. Mr. Kennedy mentioned that this is a city of small businesses. I'm okay with that. To be very honest with you, I'm a business owner myself, and I've known some very successful businesses here in the city. I happen to own a real estate company, and honestly, it's hard for me to compete with a 105-year-old firm that's been around forever before I was able to do my business. But this kind of initiative, this kind of effort presents an opportunity, not necessarily with my business because it's on a private level, but for those who want to do business with the city, it makes it easier for them to compete, to take advantage of those opportunities, and that's how we grow businesses in our city. I was the head of economic development 30 years ago. 25 years ago. And Baltazar Electrics is a good example of the beneficial results of having goals in place and having programs in place. Who would think that as you drive throughout the city of New Orleans that a firm that was founded to work on Harrah's Casino, providing supplies for Harrah's Casinos and other city agencies that many years ago now would be one of the main providers of our lighting here in our city. And those are the things that go unmentioned. That firm doing a tremendous job. That's how they kept the contracts, a tremendous job. Also, ISL Engineering, 50 persons working in that firm, owned by an African-American woman. I'm just pleased to be here on this day, but also pleased to celebrate the fact that many times we focus so much on the negative that we forget the positive that's going on out there. This is a positive day. There are also positive businesses, African-American owned, that are doing well in our city, that are working really hard. And if someone considers why I should stay in the city of New Orleans or why I should invest, keep in mind that in the midst of the challenges, that there are some businesses that are doing well. There are legislators such as yourself who are making sure that opportunities are available to our citizens. There are organizations such as the Collaborative, which is out there working every day to make resources available. So I want those who are considering doing business in the city of New Orleans to recognize that there is some sort of support mechanism, there's motivation, and the organizations such as the Collaborative are making sure that those opportunities are available on a fair basis. And Councilmember Moreno, I look forward to working with you and staff because, yes, it's in the implementation. We now have a tool that gives us the ability to put more money into the pockets of disadvantaged business enterprises so that they can put their children through school and that they can build their houses and invest in our city of New Orleans. And I look forward to working with everyone here and also our council to make sure that the implementation of this program satisfies what you wish to have satisfied in terms of why you spent so hard and why you worked so hard during this session. So thank you again, Representative Boyd. Thank you, Congressman Carter. Thank you, Collaborative. Thank you for what we're about to do, members of the council, and also thank you for the community that recognizes that it's important that we support disadvantaged business enterprises, African-American business enterprises, women-owned business enterprises, because that is how we build a better future in our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. I see no more comments from the dais, so I'll take. Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Morrell, and then Councilmember King.
I'll be very brief because, I mean, I think Eugene used up all our council time right there.
He always says I'm going to be very brief, but watch.
There's no time limit.
I will bet. Someone can pull out your stopwatch. Thank you, Representative Boyd. Thank you, big brother and mentor, Congressman Carter. Thank you, Ms. Major and the Collaborative. I know that y'all do an excellent job of keeping government honest. And I want to say that in a very definitive way in that I know that my big brother, Congressman Carter, knows, and so does Mr. Green, knows what it's like when you have an administration that is intentional upon lifting up DBEs. And I think part of what you've seen over the last couple of years is that you've had several administrations that are not intentional about lifting up DBEs. And the efforts that have been made today through last session with the work by my sister, Representative Boyd, is really presenting opportunities. And how government responds to the opportunities that are out there for small businesses, small disadvantaged businesses, is really on us. You've laid the table. It's incumbent upon us to take the tools that have been given to us to provide opportunities to lift up our community. And I fully expect the Collaborative to be back if we're back to that unfortunate time where we're waiving DBE requirements and everything else to not take advantage of these opportunities. That's no longer upon the businesses or the people that provide the tools. That's on us. And I appreciate that y'all will consistently be here to call a spade if we don't do what needs to be done. Thank you.
Councilmember King.
Thank you. I want to first thank State Representative Boyd for doing this. Something was said in the video, one word sums it up, and that's monumental. So thank you for that. Congressman Carter, it says a lot for you to come out here to show your support with your very busy schedule. So definitely appreciate you. Ms. Major, I can hear you speak all day because you tell it just how it is. You don't hold anything back, and that's definitely appreciated. And one thing, the Collaborative for their efforts and their support. Mr. Kennedy, you put a stat up, but you had a stat that said, I think 24% of the cities on the poverty level, and to take it a step further, it's about 32% of the black people in the city are below the poverty level. So that needs to be highlighted, and that's why this is so important. Ms. Major, you stated that equity is a dirty word sometimes, and I think Congressman Carter echoed that. But I also want to say that saying the words African American or black could be sometimes viewed as a dirty word, because let's not forget, or let's not pretend that all DBEs aren't created equal. So we have to be even more intentional to make sure that black-owned DBEs get a piece of the pie. I've been around, I've seen head-scratching acts done where DBEs are 49% owned by the husband, 50.1% owned by the wife, and that's now with DBE. Maybe the math doesn't equal up to 100%, but you know what I mean. So we want to make sure that we're intentional in making sure that no one skirts the rules, no one goes against the spirit and the letter of this legislation, to make sure that black-owned, African-American-owned small businesses get their fair piece of the pie. So again, thank you all for the work that you've done on this.
Councilmember Harris.
Well, I'm the last to speak, so that means I'll speak quickly. Representative Boyd, you're one of my favorites, and I thank you for everything that you do, not only for Black people in New Orleans, but for women in Louisiana. And I just want to put a pin in that, because you've been a champion for us as women's rights are being eroded in the state. Congressman, thank you so much for everything you do and the money that you bring to our city and to our state. The collaborative, I'm such a fan, and we need to do more work together. I can tell you, having tried to shepherd someone through the city's DBE process, that it is a broken process. And to Councilmember Green's point, we need to make sure that the rules implemented reflect a fair process that is swift, because as we know, the procurement process of the city is not swift at all, and it needs to be, especially as we're getting our Black and women-owned businesses paid. I said this in our last meeting, and I just want to put a final point in it. New Orleans is based on Black small businesses. It's the basis of our economy, and if we don't support the basis of our economy, New Orleans won't be here. And guess what? Neither will Louisiana, because we are the economic driver of the state, and we can't forget about it. That means that Black people are the engine that drive New Orleans and the state. So thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate you, and I'm happy to work with you as we go forward to implement these rules.
All right. Let me take public comment. Edward Parker, you're up first, and then W.C. Johnson.
It's a good day for me. I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Congressman Carter. Thank you, Legislator Boyd. I've never met you. Thank you, Council, our progressive Council. Voting is important, and for all the people who say that voting is not important, look at what's happening today. This legislation, just think about it. To get anything done in this red state, that a conservative Louisiana legislature, we got it done. And a Black woman got it done. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Also want to thank the council. Thank you guys. We have a start. Let's make sure that this Office of Supplier Diversity is intentional, has the funding, and also has the staff to make sure that this legislation is not watered down. Also, Councilman King, I want to thank you for what you're doing. That piece of legislation you're pushing to break up this monopoly in the French Quarter with Lucky Dog. Thank you very much, brother, because that is needed. Black small businesses have been neglected too much in this city. Today is a start to dismantling that. Thank you all. Y'all my friends.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. W.C. Johnson, followed by Deborah Gould.
Yes, equally, I would like to thank the collaborative. I'd like to thank Congressman Carter and Legislator Boyd. I'm with the New Orleans United Front as well. And back in last October, we utilized the collaborative impact study to begin to fashion and produce a crime plan for New Orleans because of the collaborative impact study. Now, we have since been pushing this because we have come to find that the problem with DBEs in New Orleans is that there is no teeth to the monitoring and forcing it to be a reality. We're looking for teeth to be a reality for what has just been passed, what has been in place, and what will come to be in place. Because a lot of words are good, but when you get down to it, they don't mean a whole lot. You got to have that muscle that makes it happen. This is 2023, not 1963. And we need to have a monitoring process and an enforcement process that's going to make sure that all this work our politicians have done come to fruition. Thank you.
Ms. Gould, followed by Corey. I'll try your name in a second. Ms. Gould, go ahead.
Well,
Pull it down.
the person standing before you is, I am Deborah Washington Gould.
That's right.
President of Deborah Gould and Associates, Inc. This is a monumental day. The collaborative experience today on Tuesday, August 29, 2023, is capturing a day and time of excellence by the members of the collaborative group. I want to say thank you to Congressman Troy Carter, to State Representative Delisha Boyd, and to the City of New Orleans council members for believing in us, working in collaboration with the collaborative, and especially to all of the collaborative members who's present here today. If you would just take a few seconds to please stand and be recognized. We did it, y'all. We did it. I thank each of the collaborative members for their heart, their love, their support, their time, their encouragement, and their talents. Pulling our resources together, sometimes large, sometimes small as a group, but as you can see today, we have been steadfast and immovable and mighty warriors to represent small, minority, women-owned businesses. Today is monumental. So I must recognize other collaborative members who are up in heaven who have made a tremendous difference. To the late and beloved, my man, my husband, Joseph Gould Jr., Lonnie Hewitt, Calvin Hampton, yes. Melvin Creasy, yes. Carol Baltazar. Yes. They were the spearhead. It was their voice at the table that have kept many of us. And in the late words of Joe Gould, I am for all of you. I'm not against anything. But black folks got to get paid in this city. And we got to be recognized that we are the cornerstone that makes the engine in this city works. Whether it's one employee, 50 or 100 or more, we are making the difference, but we have to have those opportunities. So in this administration, the progressiveness of this council member and to Mayor LaToya Cantrell, but most my recognition to the Office of Supplier Diversity. Every person that's been in that job, we have been able to build rapport and establish and build relationships. So they get it. So it's been the collaboration and partnering. We're gonna make them work like you're gonna make them work. Because we're gonna keep showing up. We ain't going nowhere, the collaborative. And I want y'all to know that. But this day, HB 224, now at 2:30. We're gonna be around a long time. This law is passed. I love you, Sarah. I love my congressman. And I love all of my collaborative members for hanging tough. We did it.